The first thing she said to me wasn't my name. It was, "If you're going to stand there, at least go clean something." The room laughed, not loudly, not cruelly, just enough to let me know they agreed with her. A crystal glass slipped from her hand right after that, shattered at my feet, champagne bleeding into white marble like it had somewhere better to be. Everyone froze for half a second, waiting to see what I'd do. I could feel it, the quiet consensus forming in the air. I was staff. I was decoration. I was invisible. So I bent down, not because I had to, because I wanted to see who would keep watching. I picked up the shards, slowly, methodically listening to the soft clinks echo through the ballroom. I could feel my pulse steady, almost calm. People confuse silence with weakness. That's their favorite mistake. They had no idea who I was, and for the first time that night I decided not to correct them. This was the Whitmore Foundation. Gala old money, new egos, a room designed to smell like generosity and sound like power. I was there in a navy suit, nothing flashy, tailored well enough that it didn't ask for attention. To them, that was suspicious. To her, it was confirmation. Her name was Celeste Whitmore, mid-40s, inherited confidence, the kind that comes from never being told no by anyone who mattered. She floated through the room like she owned the air, introducing people to each other as if she'd personally invented wealth. She thought I was hired help. What she didn't know, what no one in that room knew, was that I was the largest private contributor to the foundation, sitting 3 seats behind her name on the donor list. Quietly, through an LLC. No plaques, no applause. I don't like rooms that clap for money. I like rooms that change because of it. I stood up, handed the last shard to an actual server who looked at me with something between apology and gratitude and met Celeste's eyes. "You've made a mess," I said softly. "Might want to be careful who you ask to clean it up." Her smile twitched, just for a second. Then it snapped back into place. "So helpful," she said, already turning away. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next hour, I watched the pattern reveal itself. Conversations stopped when I approached. Questions about my project were directed to the guy standing next to me. When introductions were made, my name was shortened, softened, minimized. "This is Alex. They're helping with the education initiative." Helping. I'd built the initiative, funded it, designed the outcome metrics myself after selling my second company. But none of that fit the story they'd already decided to tell about me. And I let them keep telling it. Because here's the thing, when people think you don't matter, they stop hiding. They say things out loud. They move money where they shouldn't. They get sloppy. 3 days later, Celeste was appointed chair of the review committee overseeing my proposal. I stared at the email unreadable for a long time. My assistant Noah leaned against the doorframe like he was holding himself back from saying something that would get him fired. "She's going to gut it," he said finally. "You know that, right?" I nodded. I'd known before the email arrived. At the first committee meeting, she sat at the head of the table scrolling through her phone while I presented data. When I mentioned a measurable increase in graduation rates, she smiled the way adults smile at children who've memorized a song. "That's very inspiring," she said. "But real impact requires nuance, experience." I waited. "And where did you say you learned all this?" she added. "School, Harvard, Stanford, Yale," I said evenly. She waved it away. "Academia has its place. Translation not here, not in her world." By the end of the meeting, she'd proposed adjustments. Less funding to underserved districts. More money redirected to a Whitmore-branded leadership center that coincidentally employed 3 of her friends. In the elevator afterward, Noah finally lost it. "She's stealing it," he said, in plain sight. "I know," I said. "So why aren't you stopping her?" I looked at the floor numbers ticking down. "Because she's documenting herself." That night I didn't sleep. I spread documents across my apartment, emails, budgets, revisions, timelines. I wasn't angry. I was focused. This wasn't about being insulted at a party. This was about a system that smiled while it siphoned value from people who weren't allowed to question it. And Celeste had done this before. I could see it now. Different names, same pattern. 2 weeks later, an invitation arrived. Mandatory donor dinner, business attire, +1. I smiled for the first time in days. At the dinner, they seated me far from anyone important. A chipped coffee cup appeared at my place while everyone else drank from porcelain. Noah caught my eye from across the table. I shook my head. "Not yet." I watched Celeste work the room, positioning herself between me and every curious donor, except one. His name was Richard Hale, tech founder, quiet billionaire. He approached me without asking permission. "Your metrics," he said. "They're different." "They're honest," I replied. He nodded. "Send me what you're working on." Celeste appeared instantly, steering him away with a laugh. But it was too late. He'd already handed me his card. 3 weeks later, the foundation hosted its annual conference. Standing ovation scheduled, awards polished, press invited. Celeste was set to keynote. Instead, they called my name. I walked onto the stage with my tablet in hand. No announcement, no drama, just a screen behind me lighting up with a single slide. Promise versus practice. The room shifted. I could feel it. "I'm not here to celebrate," I said calmly. "I'm here to clarify." Celeste stood up. "This is inappropriate." "I'm not here to clean your mess," I said, my voice steady. "I'm here to show it." The data spoke louder than I ever could. Redirected funds, inflated impact claims, communities promised support that never arrived. Phones came out. Journalists leaned forward. Silence thickened. Celeste tried to smile, tried to interrupt, but the room wasn't hers anymore. Then her husband, quiet, calculating, stood up. "We need to pause," he said, "and listen." By the end of the night, the story had escaped the room. By morning, it was everywhere. 3 days later, Celeste resigned. The foundation restructured. Independent oversight. Full funding restored to the original program. No one apologized to me. They didn't need to. I didn't stay for the victory lap. I went back to work, back to the classrooms, back to the people who were never invited to galas but paid the price when decisions were made there. 6 months later, I stood in a community center, no chandeliers, no champagne. Just students, teachers, parents, real impact, real results. That night as I locked up, I thought about that first glass shattering at my feet. Some people see messes and assume someone else should clean them. Others see them as evidence. So let me ask you, do you think money really changes how people treat you? Or does it just reveal who they've been all along? Tell me what you've seen.